Hello again. This is the third time I've tried to do this video. You may or may not have already seen my introduction to the wargaming hobby that I like to take part in. I was planning on doing introductions for all my hobbies, and other than wargaming, the paranormal as a subject and as a hobby is something that I kind of dip into and out of quite often. You might be able to hear the dog moving around again once to make an appearance. And so yeah, like I said, this is the third time I've tried to do this. I made a video and it was like an hour and 20 minutes long, and I talked about some of my experiences with the paranormal, and I skipped a lot, I missed a lot, and I watched it back and I thought, well, if I made a few notes and followed the notes, I might make a more coherent video, and it might be a little bit shorter. So I made notes, and I added a lot to that video that wasn't written down, and the next video ended up being 2 hours 20 minutes. So yeah, watched it back and it was all over the place. I do go off on little tangents, and if I'm following one branch, I often branch off into other other lines of thought. So I thought I'd stick to not explaining things I've seen, things I've experienced. Obviously, I've done hundreds of ghost events, paranormal investigations, even just like, I'll book a hotel, like a haunted room in a hotel or something like that, and go myself. And I don't stay up all night asking out for things to happen or anything like that. Maybe it's an hour and a half, something. I've often thought about taking like a laptop like this and documenting it and putting it on Facebook. So I might do Facebook, YouTube, and Facebook, I suppose. And I might do that later in the year, maybe. So yeah, to try and keep this a little bit shorter. Obviously, been doing it for years. I was interested in the paranormal from a young age. Had a few experiences in a house that I lived when I was like 11, 12, 13-ish. We rented a couple of books off from the local library. One of them was Skyline Playfair's This House is Haunted, which was about the Enfield haunting. Nothing I read in there kind of matched what I'd experienced in the house where I lived, but it was interesting. My grandmother was fairly interested in it as well, I would say. She had like a magazine she bought once. I think it was like those magazines, where each week you can buy a little bit of a Titanic model, and at the end of 16 years you've got a full model, and it'll tell you each week about the bit that you bought. So this is the toilet from the first class toilets, and it gives you information, stuff like that. But yeah, the first issue is always the cheapest one, isn't it? So I think that's what you done. You couldn't build a ghost, obviously, but it was I think it was on a similar basis. And yeah, she had that for years, and I remember I used to go through with my grandmother's quite a lot. Dogs caught me cold. Yeah, if I sniffle a bit or cough or anything, I'm full of cold. And the dog's trying to wreck my desk now because I'm not giving him any attention. He's a little bitch, aren't you? Yeah, aren't you a little bitch? You get on the bed. Yeah. On the bed. On the bed. Good to give a present off my parents for my birthday. So yeah, trying to keep this short, but the dog's distracting. Bite me now. Right. So yes, grew up in a place where dodgy stuff was happening. Got interested in it at a young age. Kind of dipped out of it later school years when I started working. Got back into it. You know, probably like most people got interested in the paranormal because of Most Haunted. So the early-ish 2000s, well maybe like 2004, 2005. I remember just flicking the channels on Sky one night, and there was Most Haunted live, and it was the one at Stratford-on-Avon. I watched it. I was glued to it. Even then, though, it was the one where you remember when the spoon got thrown up, and the accounts from the cameramen didn't match the trajectory of the spoon, and even then I thought that's a bit dodgy in it, and watched they'd had a few series by then. I didn't watch the first series when it came out, but I got DVDs the first few series, and yeah, I got back into the paranormal. I even sent them an email asking if I could show them around the haunted battlefield in New York called Marston Moor. Didn't get a reply off them, obviously, just some random nutjob getting in touch with them. And in that process, I'd googled whether you could go and hunt for ghosts and look for ghosts, and there was hundreds of companies up and down the country that you paid some money, you went along, they showed you what to do and everything, gave you some gadgets to play with, and one of them was Paranormal Tours. They were a little bit on the more pricey end, but what I liked about Paranormal Tours, the main draw for me was you started at 8 o'clock on an evening, and it went all the way through the night until 6, 7, 8 the next morning. So you didn't have to you didn't have to pay for any digs. So for years, well, maybe it was 4 years, something like that. Pretty much every other weekend I was going with Paranormal Tours. I did a few solo ghost hunts myself. I did a couple of Golden Fleece in York by myself, a couple with Paranormal Tours. I love the Golden Fleece. It's a brilliant place. Marston Moor did a night by myself, heard something a bit weird. And yeah, they got disenchanted, I think might be the best way to put it, with the whole paranormal thing. I love my history, and history was being abused on not just Most Haunted, but every other ghost hunting show. And it was just, it took the enjoyment out of it for me. So yeah, I just stopped it. Same with Paranormal Tours, very happy customer for, like I say, 3.5, 4 years, something like that. And a very unhappy employee, well, not an employee, we didn't get paid, but a very unhappy crew member for, as it was put to me, 5 minutes, which, probably a couple of months, but yeah, didn't end well with them. I certainly could have handled things a lot better, I know I could, but saying that, would I change anything? No. I always believe in doing the right thing, even if doing the right thing is subjective. it's like having an opinion. It's you know, there are people who won't agree with you, and I've never understood people who, you know, if I say to somebody the sky is blue, even though they can just look up and see that it's blue, they'll you know, go away and say to them, why is he saying the sky's blue? It's not, it's black, it's, you know, it's red or something like that, or, you know, I don't believe what you're saying, so I'm going to make something up, and I'm going to tell people that's what you said. And yeah, it's just, yeah, that kind of shit happened right at the end as well, and it wasn't very nice, but yeah, it is what it is. Fuck it. It was a while ago now. Yeah, disenchant with it. I kept in touch with a lot of people who I'd like worked alongside and became mates with. I mean, 99% of the people I've met and meet on ghost hunts, whether it's the crews for companies or other people who've come along, smashing people, lovely people. You do get the odd knobhead now and again, and but that's life, isn't it? You know, if everyone was the same, it'd be a pretty dull world. But thank God it's not full of dickheads as well. Yeah. So yeah, Paranormal Tours came to an end. I kept in touch with a few people, and then one of those people was like called Kevin Ling, quality bloke. Not only is he a quality bloke, he kind of knows everyone who's involved in that whole aspect of well, that whole subject really. You know, he knows professors, he knows TV presenters, he knows various people, different companies up and down the country, and yeah, he's a cracking bloke, he really is. And without the intention of getting back into the paranormal, I just thought I'd go down to a place where he was now a crew member for a different company. Paranormal Tours had gone under. For a while I thought it was my fault, but it wasn't. It was, you know, they had other problems bigger than me. I was a little bit relieved about it, I must admit, but yeah, he'd gone on to work for another company called Pigs, which was set up by a couple of ex-policemen. I think there's only one of them now who like runs the place. Tim Brown, he's called. Cracking bloke. Yeah, he's got a lot of gear and everything, and he also builds and designs paranormal equipment. Very intelligent bloke. And like I said, I had no intention of getting back into the paranormal. Just wanted to go and see Kev. Went down to Bursledon Brickworks one evening, near Southampton. Not a bad location. Interesting, I'd definitely say. Yeah, met Kev, met loads of new people again. Made friends I'm still friends with now. Lovely folks. And yeah, I went on more Pigs events, and then I started doing like historical research for the places I was going to. You know, if somebody else in like a different group or the same group as me, if they come out with a name or any information or something, I do a little bit of research into it to see if it was plausible, or you know, when people come up with a name, and then I can do the research, like census records, things like that, parish records, whatever. And that, you know, somebody with that name used to live up close by to there. I used to work there, such and such a date. Yeah, I enjoyed doing that. It used to make people's day, I think, if, you know, some kind of validation for them. It didn't happen a lot, I must admit. But yeah, Doug's we put on to get off. I'll sit that. Rip his teeth out. Yes, so went on more Pigs events, and at one point Tim said to me, you know, we love you doing the history stuff. because I'd also started doing it. All of the evidence that they were put on Facebook, and I would like look into it. Even events that I wasn't going to, I started doing it. Not for any reason other than I found it interesting, and it kind of kept my skills up with regards doing genealogy work and ancestry work. It's a similar kind of thing to find people from the past, basically, and it helped out a little bit for when I would have work on learning new skills, or new databases would come online or things like that, or I'd find out new websites to go on to, new documents that I could maybe send off for and keep at home, which I've got quite a bit snowed under sometimes. But yeah, I had no intention of joining pigs or anything like that, but Tim said to me, like, we love what you're doing. If you ever want to come on an event, you don't have to pay for a ticket, basically. You do all this work for us. We really appreciate it. And I was made up. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's very nice of you, very nice of him. He didn't have to do that at all. I was quite happy just to plod on, and I don't know whether I must have taken him up on the offer of free tickets at some point. But like, I went to places like the Isle of Wight. I paid for those tickets because they're quite expensive. A few places, Anne of Cleves House down in Lewis, Sussex. I had like a mini project planned to go there every time pigs went there for a couple of years, and then maybe like write a small little book kind of thing with my experiences and information that we found out on various nights, and then put it all together, like I say, make a little book or booklet kind of thing. And then Tim could have sold it on the event night, maybe even sell it in the gift shop at the place. But I only went down about 3 times over the course of a year because my time with pigs came to an end. Not that I would never like class myself as a crew member of pigs. I just used to help out, really. But Tim did add a little bit to. He's got like a presentation video he does, like a projection kind of thing, before each event. And at one point he did add a little bit about me and saying what I did for them, which again was nice. A bit of a surprise. I didn't know he was going to do it, but yeah, I had a bit of a falling out with one of their members. Won't go into details. It was all a bit pathetic, really, but it pissed me off enough to just say, like, by that time in my life, I'd realised that it was far, far easier to just, if something pisses you off, to just walk away, turn your back on it, because it's not worth the hassle, kind of thing. I apologise to Tim if anything I'd done had affected his, the sales for the company or anything like that, but he's not interested. He's not interested. I don't believe he's, interested in running pigs as a business. I think he just wants people to have a good time, and he's interested in the paranormal. But unfortunately, not all of his crew members feel the same way, and yeah, but like I say, it was just one person, really. Yeah, still get on with 99% of the other people, well, all of them really, except for one person. And I've been back down, been on a few pigs nights. Sometimes, like the events I go to, yeah, I'll do a bit of research on that as well still, but try keeping it down to like once a year, just to see Kev, or just to keep in touch with people who I met through pigs, and people like the Richardsons and lovely folks. Michelle Hodge, Karen Webster, Zoe, Tracy, Lauren, Ellie, people, I've probably missed half of the names off there, Paul, Rob, and Tim as well, obviously. Yeah, he's a lovely bloke, canny bloke. And yeah, they're a great setup as well, what they do, the equipment that they've got. Probably the most professional group I've ever been with. I was briefly, just after Paranormal Tours with a group and with an event company. They did 5 events, I did 4 of them, and I left on the 4th because the person running it was an absolute wanger. It was supposedly going to cater for celebrities. It was something like the wife of the fellow who ran it, her best mate, or her brother's wife, or something like that. She was like worked for a talent agency, so she was saying like, oh, I can get, people from like Corrie and EastEnders and whatnot, and get them to come along, and you can probably charge them a little bit extra, than people normally charge. But the people who came along, we didn't get too many celebs. Now, I'm terrible for celebrity kind of things because I don't. Someone's on telly, it doesn't make them special to me. You know what I mean? No, I probably wouldn't recognise anyone off Corrie if they came up and slapped me. But I did recognise a couple of faces. Not mentioning any names, but Shameless. There was a few off Shameless came along. They were a good laugh. We went to the Siege House restaurant now in Colchester, very old building. And yeah, saw something weird in there, and by then I kind of sussed out that the person running the thing was just in it for the money, and not just in it for the money, because he reckoned these people were all like celebs and all that coming, but they weren't. It was like 90% of them were like, makeup artists or cameramen or things like that, they weren't top notch, they weren't celebs, basically. But he would just like act like a prat because I think he just wanted a part in one of the shows. And yeah, by that time I knew what he was about, kind of thing, and I wasn't even enough ready to leave. That was either the 2nd or the 3rd event I did with them. We also did Golden Fleece with them, and where else did we go? We've been Galleries of Justice in Nottingham, I think. And then the 4th one I went with them was to an old pub near Edinburgh. We're in Edinburgh. I won't mention the name because they, I don't want, what I'm about to say, I hope they don't think all paranormal groups are the same. I've never seen another paranormal group go there since we were there, and I hope it's not because of the way this arsehole treated them. We were basically told to stay out of the attic, don't go up in the attic, the floorboard's a bit dodgy, and obviously numbnuts went up there, didn't he? And yeah, legs straight through the old floorboard kind of thing. Obviously we couldn't hide it or anything, and I can't remember if he like came up with some excuse or something for the reason why he was up there, but he was just being an arse, quite frankly. And that was it. The next morning I just, like I say, just turned me back. Kept in touch with a couple of people who were also on the crew because they were canny folk. But yeah, I don't really care what he's up to now. Hopefully he's fallen through every attic he's been in, about his neck or something by now, but those kind of people. end up getting what they want, don't they? So yes, when I left pigs, well, when I left pigs, I wouldn't say I joined pigs, but after the experience with pigs, I stopped going down there as often. Like I say, it was around all the time. Well, COVID hit maybe a year later, and just after COVID was kind of over, I started going. Well, me and Kev stopped with pigs as well, for his own personal reasons I won't go into. And we decided to meet up together with another group called Veritas Paranormal. Fellow who runs it, a chap called Rob Pike, cracking bloke, really is lovely. His wife and his, I don't know if it's his daughter or his niece, or his stepdaughter maybe, I can't remember the relationship, but there's a younger lass who's related to him. She helps out, and they've got a cracking dog as well. Loves being scratched behind the lugs, and I think we've upset a few people because she sometimes follows me around, and you're like, why is she staying with him? Kind of thing. And Veritas Paranormal, they do charity ghost events, so obviously he has to pay for venues. So say a venue's like 200 quid. Ticket price is 40 quid. If he gets 10 people there, he pays the 200 quid to the venue, and then the other 200 quid he puts in like to a charity. Basically, doesn't make a single penny of profit. So good on for the lad. He's like, I'm pretty sure he's won an award for it as well. I think he's like reached over 10 grand in charity. Cracking bloke, like I say, hats off to him. Should be more like him out there, really. So me and Kev arranged, well, Kev bought tickets for 30 East Drive because it's somewhere where I've kind of always wanted to go. And I remember one weekend I was quite flush for some reason. I don't know if I'd won a bet or something, or whether I just got paid for some decent work. And it was 2021 because the Euros won. On the Saturday, England were playing Ukraine in the quarters. On the Friday, I went to Todmorden Church, in Yorkshire. In Yorkshire, Todmorden? West Yorkshire? Or is it in Lancashire? I'm going to offend them, whichever one it is. But nice little village. I did have an argument with a woman because I was filming like old buildings, and she thought I was filming her, but she was, why the hell would I? Kind of thing. Lovely little village. Church is cracking. I'd seen some video beforehand, or a couple of videos beforehand, where people were allowed down in the crypt. On the night we were told that we weren't allowed down in the crypt. I don't think Rob knew beforehand, so it wasn't his fault, kind of thing, but it was a bit of a dampener. We did there's like a clock tower there, kind of thing. Again, he had little bits of kit that we could use in various places. And we had like an Ovilus thing, which is an electronic device that gives out random words. We used that in the clock tower, and we kind of got some interesting responses. Thing is with Novulus, if it is, a spirit making contact with us, for want of a better term, the Ovilus devices, they only have X amount of words stored on their database memory, kind of thing. So whatever word comes out might be something similar to what they're trying to say, if indeed spirits can do that, and if there are spirits, if you believe in that. So the clock tower was good, like I say. There was an outside area which was interesting, obviously in the graveyard, up the hill, kind of thing. And it must be a place where people walk dogs, and you know, some people had fires there. There was like all burnt out fires and logs set out so people could sit on the logs. I don't remember seeing loads of rubbish there, like, you know, loads of empty cans of lager or anything like that. So even if it is like local youths congregating there, at least they've got a bit of respect. They don't leave the shit around. And then the other place there we investigated was like inside the church, where the chapel bit is and everything, and yeah, it was alright. It was good. Met a few again, as ever. Met a few decent people. Keep in touch with them. And like I say, that was on the Friday night. The Saturday night, I went down to Manor Park or Manor Farm near Southampton. That was a pigs event. I've wanted to go there for a while because Tim had caught something very interesting on camera, where the church is there a while back. In fact, if you search for Pigs Clips 2, all one word, on YouTube here, you'll see, just scroll down and you'll see like Manor Park, Manor Farm, church clip kind of thing, and it looks like a fella is walking just past the corner of the church. Now, without going down there, I thought it was just somebody walking, you know, back to a campsite. There's like a caravan site nearby and stuff like that. Because the place is set up like a village, but it's a bit like Beamish up north and the it's called the Black Country Museum and stuff like that, where it's local buildings that have been taken down and then reassembled there. The church isn't, though. The church is original. Does have a bit of history to the location, you know, old naval base kind of thing, stuff like that, and sawmills going back, farmland and that. But yeah, this clip is very interesting, and it wasn't until really I'd gone down there myself and I'd seen the church itself, and obviously it's, you know, even where he walks, that area of ground is quite rough. And yeah, it's an amazing clip. Thought provoking, yeah. So yeah, I did those two events, and then later on in 2021, in November, me and Kev went to 30 East Drive in Pontefract, and for those who don't know, there's supposedly a black monk who used to rape kids, but then it raped like the nobleman's daughter or something, so he was executed, and then his body was thrown down a well. And then in the 60s, the house was subject to poltergeist activity and haunted by this black malevolent monk. I do believe that in the 60s there was poltergeist activity that would have scared the living daylights out of anyone. I do believe, you know, the reports about that. The only reason people say it's a monk is because the woman who not only lives next door, she's kind of the custodian of the place. She cleans it out. She doesn't own the property. Somebody abroad owns the property and makes money from it, from selling tickets. But she goes in, gets a wage, no doubt, for cleaning up after people who've been there. I think she gets paid too much, because when we were there, it was the most dustiest place in the world. You know, if you're one of those people who ignores the fact that orbs, are just dust or insects or water vapour. See, Most Haunted, when they first kicked off, they had a theory, and it was just a theory, even they said it was a theory, that orbs are caused by the spirits of people who had passed, and it was an easy way for it to travel. There's been a hell of a lot of research done into it in the past. Steve Parsons, a very knowledgeable bloke, he's done quite a bit into it and written papers and stuff. And yeah, they have nothing to do with the paranormal, but millions and millions of people out there, even Most Haunted, more recently, have said, like, orbs are just dust, they're not actual anything to do with the paranormal. So, I mean, hats off to Most Haunted for saying that. But yeah, people still believe they are, and I swear to God, if you ever went there and you didn't, if you were one of those blinkered people who thinks every little thing is paranormal, then you'd load a 30 East Drive, because you're surrounded by billions and billions of orbs. Yeah, it's just dusty as hell. It was an interesting night. Should I go into detail on this? It's at 35 minutes now. But yes, Rob Pike was there. Obviously, he organised it all. I remember there being snow on the ground, because me and Kev had a few days in Wakefield. Went up Sandal Castle, was slipping all over. A nice hot chocolate and bacon buddy, like, but yeah, we were like, Bill and Ben the Flowerpot Men walking around, no feet on the ground, slipping and sliding, so we didn't stay there that long. Sandal Castle. We also had a brilliant night in Wakefield, actually. It was Tuesday night, soaking wet. We went into a pub, and it was like the worst karaoke singers in the world had congregated in this place. And yeah, I mean, I gave it a go. I had a go as well. And I was probably the best there on the night, to tell the truth, and I hate saying shit like that. But people were getting up and murdering these songs, but they were having a good time. They didn't give a shit, basically. And I loved it for that, loved it for that. We had some interesting meals there, some lovely meals. First time I've ever eaten Vietnamese food, that was nice. But yes, 30 East Drive. So after Kev had left Paranormal Tours, he, like I say, he knows everyone and everybody. And he knows a fella called Phil Wyman, who, if you've ever watched Most Haunted, you'll know who Phil Wyman is. And Phil Wyman and his wife Sarah, they set up a company called Dead Haunted Nights, and Kev was one of the crew members for them. And it was similar to Paranormal Tours, paid a bit of money, went along to these events, used their kit and everything, and, went all over the place, while, like I say, I was disenchanted with the whole thing at the time. So I never went on any Dead Haunted Nights, I never met any of them. But they turned up, bit of a surprise, kind of a surprise anyway, that, they turned up at 30 East Drive for a couple of hours. They were there all night. There was also a couple of people, I think it was a mother and a father and daughter, who were there. Where were they from? I can't remember where they were from, somewhere in Yorkshire, I'm sure. They were alright, they believed in what they believed in, and, then there was 4 other people there. There was an oldish woman, I'd say late 50s, late 50s. Looked a bit like a miniature pop butcher. She was the mother. Her son was, like, skinny, looked like a goblin off Lord of the Rings or something like that. And he was totally obnoxious. He was an absolute prick. His girlfriend was there, who, for 99% of the night, I only heard her say about 2 or 3 words, if that. Tried engaging in conversation with everyone, as I do, but she was just, I don't want to talk to you, kind of thing, and just fucked off every time I said, like, are you having a good night or something like that. And but he also had a mate there. The mate had like a bit of a speech impediment, but he was an absolute lovely bloke. He really was. He was so out of character with the other 3. It was comical, really. But yeah, so like I say, Rob was there. The Dead Haunted guy, the Dead Haunted guys now, Sarah and Phil. They have a YouTube show, and it's also on Pluto, which is like a free channel you can get. I get it via my PlayStation. And they've got a show called Are You Haunted? ? And it's a brilliant show. It really is. It's the best. It's the best show I've seen. Um, it's as close to the real thing as possible. There's no like hysterics. Um, the only downside is that they and Most Haunted were infamously worse for this. Really, is that they don't really do a great deal of research in the places they go on. They'll ask the owner basically, and the owners don't always know the history of the place. Or they've been told stories that they'll pass on, and these stories aren't historically correct. And I have to say, there are places out there as well which purposefully tell a load of lies to get more people in, sadly. And, I don't know how they think they can get away with it, because other people can research history. It's quite easy once you know what you're doing, kind of thing. But yeah, they still think they can get away with it, kind of thing. Without going too much in that, because that's another video in making. But yes, that's the only downside with them. And I have I've seen what Most Haunted. I sent them a couple of emails saying I don't want to be part of the show. I don't even want credit titles or anything like that. I'd just love to help you make a better show, and I'd love to help them make a better show as well. But fair enough, they've never kind of asked me to help them. And I can kind of understand why, because, the places that they go to, they might want to go to a certain place, and if they say, oh, we've got like a historian kind of fella who, he wants to do a bit of research about the history of the place, and if that place isn't interested in genuine history, if it's just interested in its own little bubble of bullshit so they can get as much money as possible, they probably wouldn't want me getting involved saying oh, that didn't happen, that couldn't have happened, kind of thing. So it could be restrictive for them, and I wouldn't want that. I'd rather see them still make the show that they're making now than be restricted because I help them out, if that makes sense. So yes, the Are You Haunted team, not the Dead Haunted team, Dead Haunted Nights, the Are You Haunted team, a few of them turned up. It was Jane Corrigan, Phil, Sarah, I think that was it. I don't think Dale Dickinson turned up. Tim Wagstaff, I think, has left by then. Ben, who is Sarah and Phil's son, I don't think he was there. Yeah, it was just the three of them, really. And this gobshite lad, basically early 20s, I'd say. Yeah, he was actually obsessed with a certain one of them, one of the Are You Haunted lot, and yeah, he was just weird. Anyway, they left 11:30. They spent most of the time with me and Kev, to tell the truth, because I don't think they wanted to spend time with because they were just weird, the other ones. And then Rob, I'm sure Rob works for like a council or something where he does emergency services coordination kind of thing. If there's like a forest fire or something, he sorts out with the police and the fire brigade and ambulance services and stuff like that. And that weekend, like I say, it snowed like hell. Me and Kev were going around Sandal Castle, nearly breaking our necks. So there was a lot of snow on the ground, and obviously where there's snow, it melts and it floods nearby. And Todd Morden's quite bad for floods as well, and I think he's from that area. I'm not too sure, but yeah. So he had to be up early the next morning. So Rob went to bed about midnight, I think. Maybe it was a little bit later. But he said, if anyone wants to stay all night, they're more than welcome to, as long as A, you don't disturb me because I need me sleep, and B, just be respectful, 10 minutes after he'd gone to bed, the two people that I can't remember where they came from, they buggered off at about 11:30ish. The four people who were from Doncaster, I remember that, and they stayed. 10 minutes, half an hour after Rob had gone to bed, they were opening bottles of alcohol. Could hear the bottles opening, and I think later on they had like a bottle of vodka or something as well, which was just a big no-no in anyone's book. When you're doing that kind of thing, you know, it's just ridiculous, pathetic. The young lad, he was being very loud upstairs, and his mother was shouting up the stairs just as loud, telling him to be quiet, and he was shouting back down the stairs, "We're here to investigate, not go to fucking sleep." And I'm thinking, Rob's in a bedroom right next to him, no bed, calm down, you know what I mean? So I actually went upstairs, like, just to, like, I don't know, yeah, slap him if needs be, maybe. And he did kind of calm down, kind of thing. But me and Kev stayed mostly in the living room. Most weeks Kev was asleep most of the night, snoring his little head off, bless him. And they must have thought I was asleep as well at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, because the mother and the canny lad, I think his name was Logan or something like that, Logan or Brogan or yeah, something like that. They'd gone upstairs for, I hope, for a vigil anyway. Thinking about what I'm about to tell you. But the young lass and the boyfriend, the gobshite, they went into, I'm 90% sure it was like the outhouse bit, the smoking room, which would have been a pantry at one time because it's freezing those rooms. Or maybe even into like, there's a haunted, well, there's a coal bunker there, and something scary happened there during the poltergeist activity back in the day. So they're either in one of those rooms, I'm pretty sure they're in the bigger room though. And I'm sitting there and I thought, what the hell's that noise? What are they doing? Are they shagging? Oh my god, they're having sex. Yeah, it didn't last that long, but that's definitely what they were doing. Yeah, yes, doggy, they were going at it. And yeah, oh my god, I honestly didn't know what to do. I was like, should I go and turn the tap on or something so they know that someone's kicking about? Or, but by the time I kind of thought about doing something, they'd finished, and yeah, I was utterly gobsmacked. I'm pissed off as well at the time because, you know, totally disrespectful to Rob. You know, the poor bloke. And I told Rob like the next day or the day after maybe, and he was absolutely devastated. He you know, immediately blocked them from going on any more events, which thank God, you know. I still, yeah. It's the first time I've got mates who once went on a ghost hunt at the Schooner Hotel in Alnmouth in Northumberland, and the people who were like the crew members on that event, they must have thought it was dark enough to get away with a bit of hanky-panky in the room. On that occasion, and my mate used to tell me about it all the time. I was always like, what, in the same room you were in? And you were all awake? And he was like, yeah, just in the corner. They were like, I mean, and I've always thought, nah, people can't do that, obviously, but yeah, looking back, I mean, it's just crazy. It really, really was crazy. So yeah, these days, try and do a pigs event once a year, just to, like I say, keep in touch with people who I met when I was a more regular customer of theirs. And try and do a Veritas with Kev once a year. It probably won't happen, but we were planning on doing the, what's he called? There's tunnels in Liverpool. It's a fella's name. I'm not sure if it was Robertson or Richardson or something like that. Like I say, I'm full of cold, I can't remember. The newish tunnels in Liverpool, which I've kind of knew a bit about them when they first opened up a few years ago. I thought, oh, that looks interesting. So I did a little bit of research then. And the history is quite interesting. So I kind of wanted to go, but eyesight problems, and I still don't know whether I'm getting PIP, and if all I've got is universal credit to go on, then I won't be able to afford it, quite frankly. I can't work anymore. I don't have to sign on anymore or get sick notes, so I'm at that stage where it's kind of all being resolved, but I still don't know what the hell's going on. At the end of January, I'll definitely know what my income is going to be through benefits. Like I said, I can't work anymore, and you know, restricted by that now, which is a pain in the ass. Because when I worked and I used to get a decent pay, you know, I'd be like, I remember the beginning of 2021, beginning of last year. No, it was beginning of this year, 2022. The beginning of last year, it's January 1st now. Oh, yeah, it's that time of the year as well. So right at the beginning of 2022, I played football about a week into 2022, and the ground was frozen, and I twisted my knee quite badly. I used to play in goal, and I've had glaucoma for probably about 10-15 years now without knowing. So it explains a lot of dodgy incidents in playing in goal. But yeah, I really badly twisted my knee, and I thought I'd broken it, to tell the truth. And then like a week or two later, it was a week and a half later, I needed a Hoover. So I went down to, there's a Hoover repair shop near me, and I thought, oh, they might like sell second-hand Hoovers, cheap Hoovers kind of thing. Well, I just got like a decent pay packet as well, so I went down there, but the shop was shut, so I was walking back, and I was crossing over, there's a railway bridge with a railway station right next to it, and then walking a little further and getting my house. Crossing over the railway bridge, and I thought, nah, fuck it, I'll quickly have a look on Pig's website, see if they've got any events going tonight, because it was a Saturday. And lo and behold, yes, the Tunbridge Castle in down in Kent. So I booked a ticket, got a train ticket straight away, got cheap digs were nice. Yeah, definitely spur of the moment kind of thing. Went out for a Hoover, ended up going straight down to Kent, and yeah, and I remember on that night as well, like I said, my knee was dodgy as anything, my eyesight was bad, and when you're in your little groups, you do like a team photo, and the best team photo wins. I don't know what you win actually. You used to win a cup, I think, like a mug, but I don't know now. But anyway, Tim had us like, there's like a part of Tunbridge Castle where it's inside the keep, and there's little, it looks like ruins like you would see on an archaeological site, and it's like where walls would have been, and they're raised up off the floor kind of thing. So we're standing on these ruins, and then he wanted us to jump down onto the floor and like capture us all mid-flight kind of thing as the team photo. Like I say, my knee was dodgy as out to begin with, and we did it 2 or 3 times, and my knee was just boom, boom, boom like that. And then we went down these stone steps, and it was dark. Not only was my knee killing, it was dark as well. I don't know if I lost my footing because of my knee, or because it was dark, or I just, my glaucoma. And I fell like 2 or 3 steps, and I think I broke one of his cameras. If I did, sorry, Tim. Tunbridge Castle, the beginning of the year. That was like, we did 30 East Drive, November. Then I did Pigs. Kev wasn't there. Like I say, Kev's time with Pigs came to an end kind of thing. I don't know whether he's going back with them. Like I say, he had his own personal issues around about the time of COVID. And then later in the year, me and Kev met up at RF Bimbrook. We went there purposely because the Are You Haunted team were going there again. Dale Dickinson definitely went on that one. Is his name Dickinson? Was that fell off the TV show? I apologise, Dale, if I've got you saying him wrong there, sorry. Jane was there again, Sarah, Phil. RF Bimbrook in Lincolnshire. Stayed in Lincoln. Kev could only get down or get up really, come up for the event. Dad's a bit poorly, so he cares after his dad quite a bit. So he couldn't spend as much time as he normally would. Yeah, it was a good night. Enjoyed the night. We were only there for a few hours really. But yeah, had a mooch about Lincoln as well. That was a lovely place. Only a couple of hours away, to tell the truth, which I thought was much further away. So I may go down to Lincoln if I can get some money sorted out later in the year as well. But between Tunbridge and Lincoln, I joined a group, not an event company. People couldn't pay for a ticket and go along. It was a group of paranormal investigators. They were called Paranormal 13. I kind of followed them for a few years. Excuse me. A friend of mine on Facebook, she was a member of the group. She still is. And she'd been with them for a few years. She'd actually been with the lead for this group beforehand. I think we'll call it Manchester Haunted or something like that. And they advertised they were looking for new team members. A few people had dropped out, they wanted replacements kind of thing. So I put my name forward, told them what I'd been up to kind of thing. And they're like, right, fair, you know, if you want to come for like a trial period of 3 investigations, 3 events, well, 3 investigations. And then at the end of that, you know, if you like what you see, and if we like what we see, you know, see no problems with you joining. Like I say, you'll have to do 3 trial investigations. I was like, yeah, that sounds fair enough. We paid, each of us paid like, you know, standard kind of ticket price, I would say, you know what I mean? Wasn't over the top. To go to places, the first place I went to was, I always call it the Gallows of Justice because I used to go there quite a bit in the mid-2000s when it was good. I went there like, I took my nephew there actually, 2012ish maybe, something like that, and he'd just gone completely bananas with the Robin the Hood story, Sheriff of Nottingham bollocks. And we walked out after a bit because it was just, you know, it's not a place, at that time it wasn't a place you would take your kid if you wanted them to learn about history. If you wanted them to be lied to and, you know, yeah, if you don't give a shit about that, just want them entertained, then, you know what I mean, it's not my cup of tea at all kind of thing. So we left early, and it was the first time I've been back since then, to tell the truth. So it might be a little bit later than 2012. But they've changed again, from what I saw anyway, the kind of going back to the history side of things. They were like, the transportation part of the museum is gone, or it was locked up at the time, it wasn't open to us. And they've got like a recreated street scene kind of thing, similar to the Thackeray Museum in Leeds. The ground floor of that's like a stylised old Victorian street, and that's what that part of the Galleries of Justice is, downstairs, ground floor, police cells and things like that would have been. Part of the old police cells is now open, which I'd never been to before in that part either, so that was good. I enjoyed that. Then obviously you got the caves and everything underneath, and the cells upstairs, courtrooms were quite good. And it was a good night. I enjoyed it. Nothing, dodgy happened, or nothing really I was upset with. I did kind of get the impression that, there was a couple of people who, whatever happened, they put it down to paranormal and they weren't really interested in an alternative explanation. There were sounds which I would bet my dog on. If you know me, I love my dog. I bet the dog on were the sounds of bowels being moved around outside. There is a pub right outside. There's a bigger pub just down the street. It's in a busy-ish part of town, just a little bit off from a busy part of town. But it sounded like bowels being moved about, like you do at the end of a night shift. You move empty bowels and you put fresh ones on, stuff like that. That's what it sounded like to me. Possibly like roller doors, like shutting. But no, everyone was like, "Oh, it's definitely a cell door being slammed, or like the door of like metal bars being slammed." It could have been. We did find a door. It made a similar noise, so it could have been. But whereas I'm like, well, it could have been that. It could have been this. It could have been that. There were a couple of people who were, no, it's definitely, the door being slammed. Which, fair enough. As long as it's just a couple of people, and I'm sure as they got to know me, they'd know that I wasn't, like a party pooper or not like that. In the words of Mr. Grey, which is a great YouTube channel, goes around debunking ghost videos. The World of Mr. Grey, it's called. If you're interested in that kind of thing, which I'm interested in all aspects of paranormal. And then after that, I got some work on in France and Holland. So I missed a weekender that they did at, see, I pronounce it Kelvedden, because that's how it's written. But they called it, well, other people, everyone I know basically, calls it Kelvedon Hatch nuclear bunker down in Essex. They went down there for a weekend. They investigated that place while they were there. Sadly, I missed out. So my second investigation was at Elstow Moot Hall in Bedfordshire. I stayed in Bedford. Lovely town. Yeah. Got a bollocking for taking a picture of a Boer War memorial. Yeah. Some woman had a go at me because she thought it was like all about. She thought it was about the Zulu War, I think, because she was like calling me an imperial. Yeah, she used the C word as well. Yeah, it was just utterly bizarre. Bless her. But yeah, Elstow Moot Hall. There was only 6 of us turned up, and the crew lead and one of the other members barely spent any time inside. It wasn't a huge place. 6 people was good, but it was really only 4 of us did anything. Like I said, the crew lead and one other person stayed outside most of the time. God knows what they were doing. And again, there was a couple of things that happened, like an EMF or K2 meter went off, and I was more thinking out loud, trying to look for possibilities and then try and work out why it couldn't have been that. And I was like, well, there's a light above there and the cable goes down there, and just talking like that, and someone was like, well, it hasn't gone off all night, and it doesn't, and it didn't go off again during the night. So yeah, I was like, well, calm down, kind of thing. And I think you're right, but we'll see. And then, like I say, I still enjoyed the night. I probably enjoyed every night I spent with them. Maybe maybe not so much the last one. And then my third event was Scottish nuclear bunker. I think it's advertised as Scotland's secret bunker. Went up there with them. Lovely part of the world. I love Scotland all over. This was a lovely part of the world. Nice enough weather. I didn't stay any hotel or anything. I just dossed it at the train station like I used to with Paranormal Tours, but the event finished at like 3 in the morning or something, so like I had like a 5-hour wait at the train station, which was alright. It wasn't the end of the world. Got a bit chilly, but yeah, I was fine. The event itself was really good. Again, the same two people, the crew lead and this other lass. I'm not suggesting they were getting up to any hanky-panky, because he was gay, and his partner was, you know, there as well. His partner, I really got on with his partner. He's a lovely bloke. Like I say, the crew lead and this other woman, they buggered off. 90% of the night they were outside by themselves. God knows what they were doing. And the highlight of the night was an EVP that we captured, like called Mike. Had captured. We split into a couple of smaller groups, because there was like, I think 8 or 9 of us all together, and we gone into this larger room. There's loads of electrical equipment, which doesn't really narrow it down at the place, because pretty much every room is a large room with electrical equipment in it. But yeah, we were sitting in there, and there was like these tapping noises coming from like the back of the room, and we were all like up the front end. And he had his dictaphone going, and I don't know if he'd asked any questions out or anything, I can't remember. But I remember saying, it almost sounds like Morse code, doesn't it? And the woman who was just sat near me said, yeah, Morse code. And then there's another voice. We didn't hear it at the time, we heard it when he played it back a few minutes later. And this other voice just says, Morse code, just like that. Yeah. Brilliant bit of evidence. Still can't explain it really. It was brilliant. And the rest of the night, you got a weird feeling about the place. It was a place I would love to go back to, really would. So that was my third investigation with them, and like I said, they want me to do 3 and then they'd kind of evaluate. And then a few days later I got a message saying, well, we'd like you to do a 4th, because not everyone's met you, kind of thing, you know. Wasn't really my fault. It was just no one came to Elstow. There was like say 6 of us, and then there was only 9 of us. But the next one was due to be HMP Ashwell near Oakham in Rutland, and there was due to be a lot more people there. So he's the crew lead, or the manager, he said, oh, well, do your 4th one and then we'll evaluate it, and you'll have met a lot more people then. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, don't mind doing that. And then like literally 10 minutes later he was like, oh, tell with it, we'll just, you know, you can pay your membership, and you know, which went towards the insurance and everything for the group. I'm like, yeah, fine, no worries, we'll do that if you like. Wasn't really bothered. The 4th event, I mean the second event at Elstow and the 4th event, people had met up prior for a meal beforehand, which I thought was like a good idea at the time, you know, meet people kind of and get to know them a little bit. Which seemed to be like people turned up on time, and a lot of people turned up late or just didn't turn up at all for the meal, and there was a lot of bitchiness about people who weren't even turning up at all, people who were there, and that. You know, I kind of thought, you know, is this really for me? It doesn't, you know, it's not my cup of tea, that kind of thing. But yeah, I still agreed to join them after the 4th one, the 3rd one, sorry. And then we went to HMP Ashwell. Like I say, stayed in Oakham. Lovely place, Oakham. I'd love to go back there one day. It's not huge, so I think I saw everything. I went to the museum and the castle that was there. It's like a great hall where the castle's destroyed pretty much totally. Old gateway, and that's about it. HMP Ashwell, it's used as what's it called? Airsoft place, you know, where you have like those fake guns that shoot little plastic BB bullets at people, and it's used as that now. So there's these little balls all over the place. You can't sit down without getting an arse full of them, really. Huge place, and yeah, we'd been there about 20 minutes or so. The crew lead was, you know, we'd all stuck together. There was, how many people was there? Again, there was only about 10, 12 maybe. 10, 12 people there. The crew lead stuck with us all night. We all stayed as one group until towards the very end we split into two groups. But yeah, we've been there about 20 minutes. We're all there. There was a couple of people asking about a bit, like making noises that, you know, you could tell it was them making the noises. They weren't like trying to hide or anything. They weren't, you know, making noises and then claiming it was ghosts. They weren't doing that. But it was still annoying, you know. Trying to act like they were, you know, prison warders kind of thing, shouting orders and stuff like that, as they claim to try and get like a response or something, which, you know, never works. Like I say, it's more they were trying to show off, I think, more than anything. But yeah, there was an instance where the crew lead was, we were all in the same area, and you could hear like it sounded a bit like a heartbeat kind of thing, like a thump 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 thump. It was like intermittent kind of thing, and there was a main road not a million miles away, and it sounded to me like cars going over like a pothole or something, which I think it was. That's what it was, because it didn't happen later on the night when traffic had died down. And the crew lead was like, what's making that noise? What's making that noise? So I said, like, isn't that the road, traffic on the road? And he and about 5, 6 other people just burst out laughing. You know, like I just told a joke, basically. I remember standing there thinking, what the fucking are they laughing at? You know, I'm just offering a suggestion as to what it might be, or what my opinion of it is, and it was probably at that moment that I thought to myself, nah. If they do it like that again, fuck it, I'll just go home. I kind of forgot about it and kind of cracked on and kept myself to myself, really. And then maybe a week or two later, there was a discussion on the group on Facebook, and it was about a town that was haunted. I can't remember the name of the town now off the top of my head. And yet, my friend who'd been a member for a while had suggested this town has been, you know, there might be locations there that you can go ghost hunting. And I'd heard that the library was haunted there. So I wrote on, well, I know the library's haunted, but I'm not too sure about other places where else is haunted. So she put like a little list up saying like, oh, there's like this place and that place. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But the crew lead like replied to me like, yeah, you need to be more open-minded about going looking for ghosts. And again, I was like, what the fucking hell is he talking about? You know, he didn't take an effort, the slightest effort to get to know me, but now he's making these fucking generalised like comments about me kind of thing, and yeah, again, it was an instance where the following morning I just fucking delete myself from the groups, delete myself as friends of most of theirs. I'm still friends with the person I've known for years, but people I've met through that group who I've become friends with, I deleted them. It didn't feel right to stay friends with them simply because I'd known them through the group, if that makes sense. You know, some of them were cracking people, lovely people, Like I say, his partner was a cracking lad, but he was just, yeah, just an arsehole really, for no reason at all. Yeah, I don't know, he just, yeah, fuck it. Yeah. So yeah, I made a video the other day and it was like an hour 20 minutes, and I thought that's too long. And this is an hour and quarter of an hour, an hour, yeah, an hour and quarter of an hour, an hour and 15 minutes, doggy. Yes. So this is probably too long as well, but this is as close as you're gonna get to like, this is my paranormal. I've probably gone into too much detail with the last couple of years, but yeah, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds really, doing this. So do I believe in ghosts? Yes. But I split it between the paranormal and the spiritual. I think they're two different things. Does paranormal stuff happen? As in, I've seen doors open, I've seen lights coming on demand. I've seen too much stuff to not believe that there's something strange happening. Is it somebody from, like a spirit of a person who has died doing these paranormal things? I'm yet to be convinced by that. And the more I research things that people say, when I'm on an investigation or whatever, it is very rare to get like a hit where they come up with a name and it matches history, or even they come up with like a story of an event or something like King such and such visited here, I can sense King such and such, or I can sense Nazis used to live here, or that kind of thing. 99 times out of 100 it's complete. I don't know where they've got that kind of information for. Stuff which is impossible to have happened historically. And not everyone likes to hear you be told that, or that, when you came out with that, it can't have happened kind of thing. A lot of people just spit the dummies, and that's probably why a lot of people believe that I don't believe, if that makes sense. Whether I believe in mediums or not, that's probably another video. I do believe some people believe that they are talking to the dead, but I think it's probably something more psychological going on. Likewise, certain experiences I've had, I will put it more down to a psychological, something happened in my life or at that exact time. There's often always a different alternative explanation, and I look for, like you've probably worked out, I look for alternative explanations into everything, but I don't always believe that alternative explanation is the explanation. It's one of many explanations that it could be. But there are people out there who won't even entertain the thought of an alternative explanation, which, if I'm narrow-minded or blinkered, then what does that make them? I'm fully willing to explore all possible explanations. And like I say, I've spent enough money on this over the years that I'm willing to keep doing this, and keep trying to find the holy grail of some kind of proof that it is the spiritual side to it is true, is spot on. But even that comes down to, I research history a lot, obviously, and maybe not so much now, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, you could have picked me up and plonked me in the middle of blindfolded me and took me to, a castle or a museum somewhere, and it wouldn't take me too long of walking around to understand maybe where I was and remember which ghost supposedly haunts this place, or even just like looking at the architecture and getting a basic knowledge of maybe when it was built and coming up with some kind of story associated with that time period. I think I could do that, or could have. I probably still could, maybe. But do I believe all mediums do that? No, I definitely don't believe all mediums do that. Yeah, again, 1 hour 20 minutes it's gone, but I think I'll keep this one. If you have any questions, or if you've ever met me and something funny happened, I quite like those stories, so if you can comment on this, I'm not sure if people can comment on my videos, but I need to click a button or something. Yeah, leave a comment and say hello, and if you've got any recommendations for YouTube channels I might like, chances are I've probably already deleted them before, because there's a lot out there where, like I say, they get dust flown past the camera and you think they're surrounded by ghosts, or it's there's a lot of stuff out there, and they believe it's paranormal, and fair enough if they won't believe that. They believe that it's their life. But yeah, if you know anywhere that does like old dramas and documentaries, and I've got a playlist on my YouTube called Spooky Playlist. So if you have a look at that and you look at the videos on there and you think, oh, I know a couple of similar videos, he might like them on his playlist, by all means send me a link. I'll check it out and give you a thumbs up, give you a thanks kind of thing. But other than that, ciao for now. Thank you very much.